The dress is one of mine. I'm Isabella Laurent, I said casually, watching my sister-in-law Victoria's champagne flute slip from her manicured fingers and shatter on the marble floor of the Met Gala afterparty. The woman who banned me from family events for wearing department store rags was now staring at me in a $50,000 custom gown, trying to process that her embarrassing sister-in-law was the mysterious designer every celebrity was desperate to wear. What Victoria didn't know was that her cruel ultimatum 3 years ago hadn't just pushed me away from the family, it had pushed me to build a fashion empire that would make her precious Hermes collection look like costume jewelry. It started at my brother Daniel's engagement party 3 years ago. I'd been working as a seamstress at a dry cleaner's during the day and taking fashion design classes at Fit at night, surviving on 4 hours of sleep and unwavering determination. My closet consisted of thrift store finds I'd altered to fit, clearance rack basics, and a few pieces I'd sewn myself from remnant fabrics. For the engagement party at the Yale Club, I spent 2 weeks creating a cocktail dress from navy silk I bought with my grocery money. It wasn't designer, but it was mine, every stitch placed with love, every detail considered. I thought I looked presentable, maybe even pretty. Victoria thought differently. Sophia, she'd cornered me by the coat check, her eyes scanning my outfit like a TSA agent looking for contraband. We need to talk about your situation. My situation? Your clothing situation. She gestured vaguely at my dress, her nose wrinkling. Daniel and I are building a certain image. We have appearances at the country club, charity events, business dinners. And frankly, your Target aesthetic is undermining our credibility. This isn't from Target, I said quietly. I made it. Oh honey, that's worse. She laughed, the sound tinkling like breaking glass. Homemade clothes? What is this, Little House on the Prairie? You're a grown woman, not Laura Ingalls Wilder. Victoria, I'm a student. I can't afford. Then maybe you shouldn't come to events you can't dress for. Her voice was sweet poison. I'm not trying to be mean, but when you show up looking like you raided a discount bin, it reflects poorly on all of us. Especially Daniel. Daniel has never complained about how I dress. Of course not. He's too nice. That's why I have to be the one to say it. She leaned in conspiratorially. Look, I get it. Not everyone has good taste or the means to express it. But if you're going to be part of this family, you need to meet a certain standard. Either invest in a real wardrobe or maybe sit out the public events until you can. For everyone's sake. I found Daniel later, pulled him aside between toasts. Your fiancé just told me I'm too poor and badly dressed to be seen with your family, he shifted uncomfortably. She mentioned you seemed sensitive about fashion. Look, Soph, Victoria comes from a different world. Appearances matter to her. And to you? I just want everyone to get along. The non-answer that was actually an answer. Maybe you could borrow something from Victoria for the wedding? She has so many dresses. The humiliation burned through me like acid. My own brother, who'd worn the same ratty hoodie for 6 years, was siding with a woman who measured worth in designer labels. I'll think about it, I lied. I didn't go to another family event for 6 months. I made excuses, work, school, sudden illnesses. The truth was, every invitation felt like another reminder that I wasn't good enough, that my homemade clothes and creative alterations were embarrassments rather than expressions of creativity. But something else was happening during those 6 months. My professor at FIT, Marcus Chen, had pulled me aside after submitting my midterm project, a deconstructed blazer that transformed into an evening jacket. This is exceptional work, he'd said. Have you considered entering the Young Designers competition? I don't have the materials budget for something like that. I know someone who might help. Diane Keller, she runs a fabric house and sponsors promising students. Show her your portfolio. Diane Keller didn't just sponsor me, she became my fairy godmother. A force of nature in her 70s who dressed everyone from Jackie Kennedy to Lady Gaga, she saw something in my work that I was too beaten down to see myself. You have what most designers spend lifetimes trying to develop, she told me over tea in her Upper East Side townhouse. An authentic point of view. These clothes, they're not just well made. They tell stories. My sister-in-law says they look homemade. Chanel was homemade when Coco started. So was Dior. Every great house begins with someone's hands and vision. Your sister-in-law sounds like she knows the price of everything and the value of nothing. With Diane's mentorship and access to her incredible fabric archives, I created a 12-piece collection called Invisible Women, inspired by all the times I'd been overlooked, underdressed, underestimated. Each piece transformed in some way, revealing hidden details, secret pockets, convertible elements. Clothes for women who were more than they appeared. I won the competition. The prize was a studio space for 6 months and a showcase during New York Fashion Week. But the real prize was what happened after. A boutique owner in Soho saw the collection and placed an order. Then another. Then a stylist for a Netflix show requested pieces for the lead actress. I kept working at the dry cleaners, sewing at night, building my business one stitch at a time. My family had no idea. As far as they knew, I was still their poor, badly dressed Sophia who couldn't afford to attend Christmas dinner at the club. The breakthrough came when Zendaya wore one of my transformable gowns to a premiere. The dress started as a sleek column, then revealed layers of tulle with the pull of a hidden cord, blooming like a flower on the red carpet. Fashion Twitter exploded. Orders flooded in faster than I could fill them. Who is Isabella Laurent became the fashion world's favorite mystery. I'd chosen the pseudonym partly for privacy, partly because Sophia Reeves, the girl who wasn't good enough for the Yale Club, felt like a different person than the designer creating clothes for Hollywood's elite. Within a year, I had a team of 12 seamstresses, a proper atelier in the garment district, and a waiting list that included Oscar winners and pop stars. My signature remained transformation, clothes that revealed themselves, that had secrets, that were more than their first impression. Victoria, meanwhile, documented her designer purchases on Instagram with the dedication of a museum curator. Her closet tours went viral in the most vapid way possible, room after room of clothes worn once, bags still in their dust covers, shoes organized by price point. She tagged me in exactly 0 family photos since banning me from events. The invitation to the Met Gala came through Diane, who'd been asked to curate a table for emerging designers. "You'll go as yourself this time," she insisted. "Isabella Laurent needs a face, and yours is ready for the spotlight." What if I see people I know? Then they'll see who you really are. Isn't it time? The theme was metamorphosis, which felt cosmically appropriate. I created my own gown, 7 layers of silk that shifted from deep purple to gold as I moved, with hidden panels that could be revealed or concealed to completely change the silhouette. It took 300 hours and was probably the best work I'd ever done. The gala itself was a blur of flashbulbs and famous faces. But the afterparty at the Temple of Dender, that's where the real magic happened. That's where I saw Victoria. She was holding court near the bar, wearing vintage Valentino and lecturing someone about the decline of true luxury. Her audience nodded politely, the way people do when they're trapped by someone with money and opinions. "The problem today," she was saying, "is that anyone thinks they can buy fashion. But wearing designer clothes and understanding fashion are completely different things. It takes breeding, education, a certain je sais quoi, Victoria?" She turned, and I watched her process my presence in stages. First, confusion, what was I doing here? Then, assessment, the dress, the Harry Winston diamonds Diane had insisted I borrow, the fact that security hadn't removed me. Finally, calculation, how could she claim connection while maintaining superiority? "Sophia? Oh my God, what are you, how did you?" She recovered quickly. "Everyone, this is my sister-in-law. I had no idea you'd be here. Did you get a job with one of the designers?" "Something like that." "This dress?" Her fingers reached out instinctively, recognizing quality. "It's extraordinary. Who designed it?" And that's when I said it. "The dress is one of mine, I'm Isabella Laurent." The champagne flute shattered. Conversation stopped. Someone gasped. Victoria stood frozen, her brain trying to reconcile the sister-in-law she banned for wearing homemade clothes with the designer everyone in her social circle was desperate to wear. No. That's impossible." "Is it?" I signaled a waiter to clean up the glass. "I've been designing for 3 years. You know, ever since you suggested I stop attending family events until I could dress appropriately." That's not what," she was actually stammering. Victoria Montgomery Reeves, who had an opinion on everything, was speechless. "Thank you for that, by the way. If you hadn't made it clear I'd never meet your standards, I might have wasted time trying to. Instead, I created my own." The crowd around us had grown. Phones were out, recording fashion history or family drama, maybe both. I don't understand, Victoria managed. Isabella Laurent dresses celebrities. Her pieces sell for thousands. There was a waiting list for the trunk show, 6 months currently, I confirmed. Though I might be able to squeeze you in. Professional courtesy for family. Someone laughed. The spell broke, and suddenly everyone was talking at once. Fashion editors who'd been trying to unmask Isabella Laurent for 2 years pushed forward with questions. Photographers begged for shots. Victoria found herself pushed to the periphery of her own scene, watching her badly dressed sister-in-law become the center of attention. Daniel appeared at some point, his face a masterclass in confusion. Sophia? What's happening? Why is everyone, your sister is Isabella Laurent, Victoria hissed. She's been lying to us for years. I never lied, I corrected. I just stopped showing up when it became clear I wasn't welcome. You assumed the rest. We would have welcomed you if we'd known. If you'd known I was successful? Famous? Rich? I let the words hang. But not when I was just Sophia in her homemade dress. That's the difference between us, Victoria. You see clothes. I see the women wearing them. Anna Wintour chose that moment to appear, because of course she did. Isabella, darling. Spectacular show. We must discuss the September issue. Victoria made a sound like a stepped-on cat. I spent the next hour in a receiving line of fashion royalty while my brother and sister-in-law watched from across the room. Every time Victoria tried to approach, someone more important swept me away. It was petty, but after 3 years of exile, I enjoyed every second. Finally, as the party wound down, I found them by the coat check, the same place Victoria had first pronounced my fashion sense unacceptable. Sophia, Daniel started. I mean, Isabella? I don't even know what to call you. Sophia's fine. Isabella is just for work. Why didn't you tell us? He actually looked hurt. All these years, you just disappeared. Mom thinks you hate her. Dad keeps asking if you need money. You told me to borrow a dress from Victoria for your wedding. You agreed I was an embarrassment. I was trying to keep the peace. And I was trying to keep my dignity. It worked out for both of us. Victoria clutched her Birkin like a life preserver. I suppose you're very pleased with yourself. Making us all look foolish. I haven't made anyone look like anything. You decided I was beneath you based on my clothes. That was your choice. You could have said something. Explained. Explained what? That I was talented? Creative? Worth knowing regardless of what I wore? Should I have submitted my human worth for your approval? She flinched. Daniel looked between us like a child watching parents fight. What happens now? He asked. Now? Now I go back to my life. My work. My studio full of the homemade clothes that embarrass you. I pulled on my coat, vintage Halston. I'd restored myself. You're welcome to visit, if you can stand being seen there. Sophia, please. Victoria's voice cracked. I know I said things, did things, but we're family. We were family when you told me not to come to Christmas. We were family when you made Daniel uninvite me from your anniversary party. We were family when you posted 100 photos from my father's birthday dinner with the caption, "Perfect family evening." When I wasn't there, each word landed like a slap. Good. I'm not angry anymore, I continued. I'm actually grateful. You showed me early that your world, the country clubs and charity galas and designer everything, wasn't where I belonged. So I built my own. Your dresses, Victoria said quietly. I tried to get an appointment at your showroom. They said the wait was over a year. For new clients, yes. Could you make an exception? I looked at her, really looked. Under the Botox and highlights and carefully curated exterior was a woman who'd probably been told her whole life that her appearance was her value. Who'd built an identity on labels and price tags because no one had taught her to value what was underneath. I'll make you a deal, I said. Come to my studio. Not for a fitting, just to visit. Learn what goes into the clothes you wear. Meet the women who make them. If you can do that, if you can see the art and not just the article, then we'll talk, she nodded quickly. Yes. Of course. When? Daniel has my number. Use it this time. I left them there and stepped out into the New York night. My phone was buzzing non-stop, reporters, buyers, celebrities who'd just discovered Isabella Laurent had a face. Tomorrow would be chaos. The secret was out, and my quiet design life was about to become very public. But tonight, I walked home in my handmade dress and vintage coat, thinking about transformations. How clothes could reveal or conceal. How success was the best revenge until you realized revenge wasn't the point. How the girl who wasn't good enough had become the woman everyone wanted to wear. Victoria had been right about one thing: clothes did send a message. She'd just been wrong about what that message should be. Her designer label screamed insecurity, each logo a plea for validation. My handmade dresses whispered confidence, each stitch proof that value came from within. The Met Gala dress would go into the archives, a piece of fashion history marking the night Isabella Laurent revealed herself. But I was already thinking about the next collection. Visible women, perhaps. For all the sisters-in-law and daughters and friends who'd been told they weren't enough, that they didn't belong, that they needed to buy their worth instead of creating it. Victoria might visit the studio. She might not. Daniel might bridge the gap between us, or the divide might remain. But I'd learned something she hadn't. In all her years of shopping and judging, the clothes don't make the woman. The woman makes the clothes. And this woman? She was just getting started. My phone rang as I reached my building. Diane? Well, darling, you've certainly made an entrance. WWD wants an exclusive. Vogue is offering a cover. And someone named Victoria has already called my assistant 3 times trying to reach you. Let her wait, I said, climbing the stairs to my apartment, my beautiful apartment above the studio where magic happened every day. I've got a collection to design. The mysterious Isabella Laurent emerges, Diane laughed. How does it feel? I thought about Victoria's face when the champagne glass shattered. About Daniel's confusion. About 3 years of missed Christmases and birthdays and ordinary Tuesday dinners. Like taking off a coat that never fit quite right, I said. And putting on something I made myself. That's my girl. Now get some sleep. Tomorrow, we conquer Fashion Week. Tomorrow, I'd face the consequences of revelation. But tonight, I hung up my handmade dress with the same care I'd shown my thrift store finds, understanding finally that its value had never been in the label or the price tag or Victoria's approval. It was in the hands that made it. Mine. And those hands had so much more to create.